Hi, and welcome to this ONABEN webcast called How to Write and Publish a News Release. My name is Kristen Wright, and I will be your presenter today. I work as the communications strategist for ONABEN, and I'm also an entrepreneur myself. I'm a proud member of the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, and I own a small marketing and public relations firm called Kristen Wright Strategic Communications. Before that, I worked 22 years as a journalist, covering everything from healthcare to global electricity generation, transmission, and distribution to the other side of the petroleum equipment industry. During that time, I realized that businesses, both large and small, were failing to get their news out. And the reason was they were not telling memorable stories that benefited their audiences. So that's what we're going to talk about today. This webcast could probably be called Why Nobody Cares How Great You Think You Are. And that's typically how people write their press releases and news releases. So if I haven't scared you yet, let's go ahead and just jump right in. What's the purpose of a press release or news release? Do you want to tell everyone how great your business, product, or service is? Or do you want people to do something? In most cases, you're probably going to want people to take action on the information that you present in your press release. Now, to actually make that happen, we need to talk about some important parts of your press release. So the biggie is the headline. That's going to be one short, choppy sentence that summarizes all of your news. So let's look at this recent ONABEN press release. Do you see the headline in bold, all capital letters? Nonprofit offers free website development, training, hosting to Oregon artists, small business owners. This headline is short, it's clear, and it's very audience focused. Notice the spacing and layout of the headline too. No one is going to be confused about which part of your press release is the headline. We have a couple of lines of white space or empty space above and below the headline. I like to limit my headline generally to only 2 lines of text and no less than a 12-point font that is very simple and very plain. So no italics, no cursive in the headline, please. Simple is always best. Oh, and hey, so speaking of simple, can we just delete all words that don't matter? Don't waste your words. Don't waste your audience's time. Be brief. So here's a little trick that will make journalists love you. Write using a style called the inverted pyramid. It sounds way exotic, but all it means is put the important stuff first and say it in as few words as possible. If you bore people in the first paragraph, do you think they're going to read the whole press release? No. So here's a story for you. Back when I was a cub reporter, our newspaper still didn't even have the internet. All of the news was either mailed in, phoned in, people dropped us hard copies, or they just came by and told us. You guys, this was not the days of the Pony Express. This was 2001. And you know what I did with press releases that bored me? I wadded them up and I practiced basketball shots. Today, reporters and editors just hit delete, it's not nearly as fun, but it means the very same thing for you. You need to use the inverted pyramid for your press releases. My advice? Get all the important information in the first 65 words. And if any sentence in your press release has more than 25 words, try to cut it into 2 sentences instead. All I'm saying is be brief. Let's see how this applies to the ONABEN press release example. Wait a minute! What's that sentence under the headline, you're probably wondering? That's called a subhead. It has other important information that a reporter or editor might need when deciding if he or she wants to get more information from you. It's short too. In this example, the subhead says, the ONABEN GoDaddy partnership gives entrepreneurs a free website for 2 years. The subhead is written like a full sentence with punctuation. Below the subhead, You'll notice a city listed in all caps and also the state where the news is happening. There's also the date of the release along with the name of the organization that issued the press release. So that's where your business name will go. All of this part is called the date line. And right after that, we have our introductory paragraph, which is also called the lead. And because I'm a journalism nerd, I have to spell lead for you. Journalists spell it L-E-D-E, not L-E-A-D. So if you spell lead, L-E-D-E, to a journalist, you've got some instant street cred. Just saying. But I digress. Let's get back to writing the lead instead of the actual word. Our lead states, "It just got easier for aspiring small business owners in Oregon to market their products and services online." That's audience focused, right? If I'm starting a small business in Oregon, or if I'm a business reporter in Oregon, my interest is piqued. I want to know how it got easier. I'm going to keep reading. Okay, I have to admit the next sentence cheats a little bit. I think it's 28 words, so maybe 3 words over my own rule. But rules are made to be broken. We just have to know the rules. This sentence states, ONABEN, a national nonprofit that helps aspiring entrepreneurs, and GoDaddy partnered to give free websites to more artists and small businesses through the Oregon Empower program, ONABEN announced. Can we talk about why we put ONABEN announced at the end of the paragraph instead of writing something like ONABEN announced that? I'll give you a hint. I'm thinking of that Bengal song from the 80s, Walk Like an Egyptian. Okay, time's up. It's the old inverted pyramid working its magic. ONABEN announced isn't nearly as important as what ONABEN announced. Put the important stuff first. It's the inverted pyramid. Another important piece of your press release is the quote. Get the quote up high. You want it in the second or third paragraph. And that entire paragraph should be devoted only to the quote. Nothing but a quote from someone with name recognition or someone who is an expert. Okay, I'm going to tell you what drives me crazy about quotes in most press releases. So many people use this precious space way up high to tell everybody how excited their CEO or owner is about something. And guess what? That's not newsworthy, and it's not audience-focused. It's just lazy marketing, and it's not captivating storytelling. Remember how at the beginning of this webcast I mentioned that press releases usually tell everybody how great they think they are? This is where it happens. Things like, "It is such an honor," and "We are so excited," and other quotes that tell us nothing are pointless. Tell us something we don't know and put it right here in the quote. You know what would be better than telling us that your CEO is excited? A customer or someone else who has a story to tell. Let's look again at the ONABEN press release example. The quote is in the third paragraph. It states, quote, "This is an incredible opportunity for small businesses and aspiring entrepreneurs to build their brands outside of Oregon and the United States," said Veronica Matarino, CEO of ONABEN. "Regardless of your minority status, if you live in Oregon and have a small business, or you've thought about starting a small business, we can help you create a website that will get you traction," end quote. Now that's a quote that tells the audience why this should matter to them. But the quote does not talk about how excited Veronica is about anything. The excitement is not the story. Another thing about direct quotes, use the word said, not says, not stated. Write your press release using the same language that professional journalists use. The less work you create for them, the more likely they are to read and publish your press release. Another part of a press release that's important is SEO, which stands for Search Engine Optimization. To really make your press release stand out online, the key word here is, well, keywords. Think about which words that are relevant to your press release and then Google those words. Find out which relevant keywords people in your industry or your bubble or in general are searching for, and then use those same words within your press release. Place those keywords in the headline and ideally within the first paragraph, but definitely within the first 250 words. That's going to help your press release appear higher in Google rankings, and then it becomes just a cycle. The higher your press release appears in Google rankings, the more clicks it will generate because you're going to be posting it on your website too, and then also all throughout social media. And then it's just going on and on and on in a cycle. Let's examine SEO now through the ONABEN press release example. Keywords are website development, Oregon artists, small business owners, and then of course ONABEN, the name of the well-known organization. You can see that these keywords appear in the headline, the subhead, and then also within that first paragraph, way up high. For a press release to be most effective, you'll also need to keep it short. That means different things to different people though, right? So let's put some concrete numbers down. 1 page is ideal, 2 pages is okay. And that's going to translate to between 300 and 600 words total. And again, you'll want to put the most important information first, and that applies to paragraphs too, not just the entire document. Now let's talk about visuals. In an emailed press release, I like to use only text in the text portion of the email, but I also add attachments. Those can include a pretty PDF of the press release with the company logo and headshots of important people or products that are mentioned. And if the press release is about an upcoming event, maybe a map could provide important supporting details. I also like to attach the press release as a Word document, and be sure to include all of the corresponding art as attachments, not embedded in the email. That will keep the quality of the artwork high. Ask any marketing person, and they will tell you that your press release needs a call to action. That just means you need to tell your audience what you want them to do. But here's where I differ from most marketing people. I've noticed that a lot of press release calls to action occur at the bottom of press releases. Maybe it's something like register at www.whatever.com. But remember, we know all about that inverted pyramid and why the good stuff should come first. I always try to get my calls to action in that first or second paragraph because we want people to know what they need to do before they give up on reading to the bottom. And it just makes sense. But this is kind of one of those self-actualization moments too, when we have to be aware that everyone does not think our information is nearly as great as we do ourselves. And that can sting. It can sting your ego. But the solution is simply to get all of the important stuff at the top of your press release. There's another important part of a press release, and I actually left it off at the slide, but it should be mentioned. It's called the boilerplate. This is just a standard, well-thought-out description of what your organization does. And typically, it's the last part on a press release. On the ONABEN example, the boilerplate reads, ONABEN is a 501c3 organization created in 1991 by 4 Oregon tribes to encourage private sector development on their reservations. Today, the nonprofit enhances economic development of Native peoples and all underserved communities through initiatives that encourage aspiring entrepreneurs and small businesses. Now that we've talked about the important parts of a press release, let's talk about the actual writing. There's good writing and there's bad writing. And then there's very bad writing. Good writing avoids cliches like the plague. See? That's funny because the phrase, like the plague, is a cliche. A cliche is just a phrase that might have been original and thoughtful once upon a time. See, there's another one. But it's been used so much that people recognize it and repeat it without thought. It's just overused and lazy writing. This slide has some common cliches to watch out for. Things like a chip off the old block, a clean slate, a far cry from, a pain in the butt, add insult to injury, against all odds, back against the wall, back in the saddle, back to square one, a badge of honor, bald-faced liar, a ballpark figure, open up a new can of worms, case of mistaken identity, caught red-handed, a checkered past. So you get the idea. Every time you come across another cliche, just delete it and think of another way to say what you mean. Now, as long as we're hitting that delete button, let's get ruthless. Cut that fat. That's another cliche, but it's okay because I'm saying it. I'm not writing it in a press release. By cut the fat, I mean delete every single word that does not contribute meaning to your press release. Take a look at some of these examples. When you see "for what reason," you can delete it and replace it with one word that means the very same thing. Why? Instead of using "based on the fact that," you could simply write one word, because. Instead of writing "for the purpose of," usually you can use an infinitive or a to verb. And if you see "in order to," couldn't you simply say "to do something"? So instead of saying it is necessary that, just go with the word "must" or "should." And here's one people love to say and write. If you see "at the present time," don't you really mean now? Cutting the fat is my favorite game, and I want it to be yours too. You can do this. Okay, it's worksheet time, so I am going to let you pause this video for about 10 minutes as soon as you reach the next slide, and you're going to get a chance to edit and cut the fat yourself. So good luck. This is an exercise posted all over the internet, and I'm not sure who posted it originally. I wish I knew so I could provide proper attribution. Anyway, this paragraph was lifted from a Wikipedia page. It's long, it's super boring, it has details nobody cares about. Your job right now is to pause this video for about 10 or 15 minutes and cut the fat. Delete what no one cares about, and rewrite this in a way that is readable and engaging to any audience. See if you can trim this paragraph all the way down to 52 words. That is your challenge. Ready? Go. And we're back. Check this out. This is also lifted from the internet. It's a rewrite someone posted, I don't know who, but it's really good. So pause this video again now and compare this edit, which is 52 words, to your own. Do you feel like you've learned how to ruthlessly edit to better engage your audience? I hope I've given you some tips today that will build your confidence so you can write an effective press release. The good news is that most press releases are really bad, so you'll be able to write one that is probably better than most. I also realize that many small businesses don't have the staff or the budgets to hire an outside communications consultant to craft their press releases. So yes, that's one of the things my consulting company does, but I am not afraid to share what works either. I hope this webinar has helped you, and I hope it helps you grow your business. Please feel free to share it with anyone who might be interested, and if you have any questions, just email me. I'm Kristen Wright, and on behalf of ONABEN, I thank you for watching today.